The compensation committee wears something Kevlar today on Zippy Point. I'm Brock Romanek and I'm a big fan of use. Boards have compensation committees comprised of independent directors whose principal task is to set the CEO's pay. Not an easy job. This pay is disclosed in excruciating detail in the proxy statement filed with the SEC, delivered to shareholders and posted on the SEC's website as well as the corporate website. So it's for all the world to see. So the results of a compensation committee's work are open for scrutiny, that's for sure. Here are 5 things you need to know about working with compensation committees. 1, the bane of your existence. 2, need to work well with human resources department. 3, don't get too invested. 4, bring in other experts. 5, watch out for turf wars. 1, the bane of your existence. The compensation committee is the most emotional committee. The CEOs tend to view the decisions made about their pay as an assessment of their value, so their worth. It can get very personal very fast, very personal very fast. The volatile nature of this area means that people in your company are going to be more hypersensitive to this disclosure than any other part of the proxy statement. 2, need to work well with HR. So as a corporate secretary, it's essential for you to have a good working relationship with the CHRO, that's the Chief Human Resources Officer, and as well as the compensation committee chair. If it's out of sync, it can be a real mess. And sometimes you don't have a good relationship with HR. It happens. A big problem that can arise is that the committee doesn't use the corporate secretary as a standing attendee. They don't attend the compensation committee meeting. Someone else is taking the minutes. So some compensation committees heavily rely on the HR staff and the underutilize the corporate secretary, and some bring the corporate secretary into the fold. Sure, that cuts the corporate secretary some slack if HR is picking up the duties, taking the minutes, and doing all the committee work. Corporate secretaries already have so much on their plate, but this can cause a variety of issues. So, for example, the arrangement could lead to some legal mistakes. The HR department took some shortcuts and delegated the review of awards to the committee chair, but the SEC's Rule 16b-3 only allows a delegation to a subcommittee of 2 or more people. That's a problem. Or there could be mistakes made that are more of an administrative nature. The committee approves a pay arrangement that doesn't comply with the provisions in the company's incentive stock plan. Just as big an issue is the fact that the committee needs inputs from the corporate secretary about how your compensation program will be received by shareholders, by proxy advisors. So HR isn't likely to be attuned to your shareholders' views on compensation matters, and the compensation committee does need to be aware of those views when contemplating how to structure the CEO's pay package going forward. 3, don't get too invested. Yes, you need to inform the committee about the details of the various views of your largest shareholders about pay, what the proxy advisors think, but your job is not to change minds or lobbying against anything in particular. Your job is just to inform the committee. The compensation committee then takes that information and runs with it, takes it from there and makes their own decision. So by the way, when the committee meets in executive session and makes pay decisions, if they kick you out of the room and someone else there is taking minutes, and it's imperative that you impress upon whoever's taking the minutes that they fill in the blanks, the dollar amounts, the number of shares, options and restricted stock units, RSUs that are granted in the minutes that they're taking, and then they sign them, put them on the hook for reporting out accurately what happened in executive session. CYA for yourself. 4, bring in other experts. It's imperative that you don't wait until it's time to draft the proxy to inform your compensation committee about the views of your shareholders and the proxy advisors. You're going to educate the committee throughout the year. So one hot tip is to occasionally bring in an outsider to supplement the information you provide about the outside world's views on your pay arrangements. It's good if the committee doesn't overly rely on you, or to put this more delicately, maybe they'll listen to someone else more closely than you. Maybe they're starting to tune you out because they're hearing the same thing from you over and over again, from the same source. So it's good if they get another perspective. Plus, it's good that the committee gets exposure to others. It doesn't have to be people from outside the company. You can have other managers that talk to investors come in and talk to the comp committee. It could be the head of your investor relations department, the chair of your governance committee. But you can bring in outsiders, bring in an expert that spends a lot of time with investors, someone that really knows the policies of the proxy advisors, a fresh face. You don't want the committee's worldview to be limited just to what the head of HR and the outside lawyers tell them, not based just on what you tell them either. 5, watch out for turf wars. There's a bunch of literature out there that pushes the idea that the compensation committee should be expanding into other areas like handling talent management, human capital, and that typically is a province of the governance committee, the nominating committee. Every board is different in terms of their culture, but also how the various responsibilities fall into the purview of the different committees. Moving a task or responsibility from one committee to another might be easy to pull off, but it might not. And you don't want the board's collegiality to be disturbed just because the compensation committee has been told that it needs to branch out. So you need to be behind the scenes, putting out feelers for how something like this might play out, a switch in responsibility, and before it erupts into a full-scale war, a Cold War. Anyways, let me know what you think.